Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to my home studio, and welcome to Luthiers Question Time Live, episode 84. This is a live stream. I'm here, I answer your questions, I talk about guitar building, I talk about pretty much anything that we can consider as worth talking about. How are you? Good weekend? Okay, so this appears to be functioning properly. Yeah, I'm sitting down. It's good. Now, questions, give me questions. Super chats, I will absolutely see. I will 100% answer because it's easy to see them going through. We've already got 40 odd people watching and the everything's going through. Rage Quit says, good morning, Ben. It feels so far away from morning. I've had the second weekend of kids' birthday parties on the trot because well, yeah, it was Byron's birthday. It's Byron's birthday. It's Orson's birthday today. Look at that. I'm even getting confused. But anyhow, how are you? All right. So we have got Matt Toman, Goth Rider Creations, Graham B, Phil Gerke with the first super chat, which I will answer in a second. Robert R comes in, is talking about saying that the UK is apparently suffering a lot of fires this year. I hope everyone's staying safe. Nothing too near me at the moment, but yeah, it's just insane heat. We've hit 40 degrees for the first time ever, apparently, in the UK. But thank you for your thoughts. Wolford Guitar says, hi. Sunbase, talking about Brunswick, but he's now living in Denver. Anyway, it is what it is. So, here we are. And here we are for a while. I have my water bottle. I have a couple of computers set up. And the camera is ever so slightly off-piste. What is this actually looking like live? Yeah, that's just bad. So I need to move the camera. Please forgive me. Here you go. Let's have a play. You can look at. Is camera one on? Yes. There you go. There's camera one. Hold on for a second while I move this. And hope that that's good. Now, I haven't really managed to sort out my studio very much. It is not yet functional. Oh, and camera one was completely skew whiff. What can you do? I've spent a lot of time sorting out the timber store, and that is now entirely up and running. And I've moved a lot of the machinery around in what was the original workshop in order to give... Well, I've created a lot of space. Storage space is something I didn't even really consider when I first moved in here. I have got guitar cases left, right and centre. I've got timber all over the place. I've got wood turning wood and a lot of vintage tools, either restored or waiting restoration, and I just had not considered storage. That was a poor choice on my behalf, I must say. So by doing this extension here, it's 4 meters by 3 or 4 by 3.5 or so. It has just created the space that I require. Now, none of the machines are plugged in yet. The build that I want to get back to is the hand tool only build. I've also got a few shorter videos coming up. You're going to see something soon on the main channel, which is the timber store being sorted and the wood racks and all of that. Talking about timber drying and moisture meters and all of that sort of thing. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen Saturday. I think I'm going to have something I haven't filmed yet. So we'll see. But it's not going to be built. Anyway, Phil Gerke's in with the first question and says, what are your thoughts on brake angles? I'm considering designing a 3x3 headstock with a string tree for all 6 strings to achieve a uniform brake angle. Is this just a solution looking for a problem? Yes, essentially, if you've already got an angled headstock, and most 3x3 headstocks are already angled, then the difference in brake angle between your 2 E strings and the G and the D it's nominal. You're talking maybe 1 degree. I'm not going to draw this out full scale in order to measure it. But the difference, you will absolutely not hear or feel, for that matter, the difference there. Now, I'm very, very tempted to buy myself a device to measure tension. I'm already losing my voice. What can I say? So yeah, I would like to measure the tension, and it would be very interesting to see at what tension various strings are when they are tuned to pitch, and to see how that changes based on whether it's a tune-o-matic and a stop tail, or a tune-o-matic and a through body stringing, or 3 aside versus 6 in line versus, I don't know, reverse headstock. All of these things will, in my opinion, have an effect on the final feel of the string. But I want to mathematically work that out. And I suspect with that sort of a device, you would possibly feel a difference. The thing is, in order to tune the string up to a given scale length, that is the tension that string needs to be at, and that is, I don't know how the stuff at either end affects that tension. You know? Doesn't really make sense to me, so we'll see. But in this case, no, I feel I would not, I really would not, I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, so we do have rain coming in, which is, I suppose, good. And that's now telling me that the microphone's going, which is great, and I'm going to put this on silent, just to be professional. Woohoo. Okay. Sporadic amnesic. It says, evening, Mr. Crowe. Question, do those bell-like mallets behind you above the guitar cases have a specific name, and what is the history of them? Okay. These beautiful, beautiful things. Excuse me. These are small carver's mallets. This one is ebony, or I suppose African blackwood, actually, with Paduke, and that is African blackwood with an elm handle. And they were made for me by Brian over at BC Woodworks. And he experiments, and he just sends me the bits and pieces that he's experimented with, and to see if I like them or love them. And you can see the different handle designs here, and I absolutely love them. His long throw mallet is the one that I use here for my larger work, but for fine details, these are the ones. And yeah, they're not antique or anything, but they are certainly fine tool making, and it's made by somebody in the UK. It's not even his main job, it's just something he absolutely loves doing, and makes a little bit of side income on. So yeah, check him out, bcwoodworks.co.uk must be. Anyway, Paul Richards has sent a super chat but no question. Paul, if you have a question, put it in the chat if that's okay, and we'll see what's happening. If not, thank you for your support. I do appreciate it very, very much. Now, it is actually hot. I literally walked in the house. We've had, not only is it Orson's birthday today, it is my brother-in-law's birthday. It is also my nephew's birthday too. So I've just been at a family do quite far away. So I've literally just walked in and come in and done the live stream. So here we go. All right, questions. Okay, Sweet Tea talking about just how hot it is over there. Robert R says, the shop that I want to build is with ICF forms and concrete helps to insulate with energy costs to heat and cool and regulate humidity. Has my microphone gone? Let's have a look. Oh, oh my gosh! What a fool! I'm sorry, I so rarely put these things. Thank you very much, Crowe. There we go. Thank you. Okay. It is all about insulation. So with regards to this workshop, part of the reason why it's taken so long is the entire workshop has been thoroughly insulated. I spent a little bit more on the shed kit because I don't have the time or energy to conceive and design, nor do I trust myself enough to create one from scratch that had double glazed windows built in and all of that. And the whole thing is that I can be in here and know that there's not that much moisture transfer between inside and outside. There's not that much variety. And if I've got a dehumidifier running, I'm not dehumidifying the outside and just wasting electricity and energy doing so. So there is that. And it's all for guitars and wood and stuff. I'd completely forgotten that I've set up. I've got now guitar hangers all over there, and I've got 2 Les Pauls just sitting there, just waiting to be yeah, relicked. Maybe. What are your thoughts on relicking? Or at least aging? It could be fun. I've just spent most of the afternoon in Bournemouth, essentially, where it was horrifically hot. In fact, I think I'm sunburnt, or soon will be, and the second we move into Dorset, it's actually cooled down dramatically and started raining. George Davis, okay, so I'm confused. Do we have to put out more than one 30-second video? So you're talking about an email that you got recently, and that is asking for a 30-second edit of whatever you've done at the moment. We're trying, this is for Great Guitar Build-Off. Now, right at the beginning of the competition, I said that last year and the year before, even more so, it nearly bankrupted Crimson running this thing, and I can't just donate huge amounts of time and money to it. It needs to be a self-sufficient thing. Now, which is fine, and we've got it to a point where one person doing admin part-time is actually enough, which is because of the way that we've designed it. You guys are creating your own profiles and generally self-policing, which is amazing because yeah, it really did, it was bad. It was really, really bad. We shouldn't actually be doing it again, to be honest, based on, you know, how much money we as a company lost by supporting it. Excuse me. Anyway, so however, I do want to promote Great Guitar Build-Off on the main YouTube channel. And what I want to do, now that the builds are progressing and at an interesting enough state for the most part, I want to put out a video a month up until the end of the competition featuring your work. And I want to have a 30-second clip from everybody who's willing to put one together for us to then send, to then edit into a great big video to go on the main channel and in front of the, well, whoever wants to watch. So, yeah, that is something that we want to do. Now, I'm noticing that people are currently not watching because the internet is going down. Is that correct? Let me see. But anyway, the 30-second video I've asked you for is for that video. It is nothing to do with... Okay. Okay. Johan van Looper says we lost you for a few seconds. The rain comes in, the internet drops. I don't know what's happening. I need to get somebody out to have a look at the routers or whatever. If that continues, then let me know. Frugal Fixer says later, got to work tonight on the installation. Somebody earlier on just asked about a 30-second video for GGBO and why he thinks that we're asking for only a 30-second video for the whole competition. What we need is you guys, if you are in the competition, to edit a quick super edit of no more than 30 seconds of what you've got to so far. I want to promote everybody as much as possible on the main Crimson Guitars channel, but we don't have the time or the money to spend on going and scraping everybody and editing. Something like that would cost thousands and thousands. It's just so time consuming. So what we've asked is that you guys who are in the competition to give us a 30-second super edit or edit of where you're currently at, so we can then string that together and have a video on the main channel that will promote everything. And I want to do that 3 times throughout the competition, and yeah, we can show things off. So there we go. Earled says, any suggestions? Stripped truss rod nut on an acoustic. I need to get it out so I can replace it. Okay, the first thing, and this is about the only tool that StewMac does that I will consistently recommend, and it's utter genius, is their... Okay, hold on. Okay, sorry, I've got an issue here. More than one ingestion is using the primary URL. Send one stream to the primary ingestion URL and one stream to the backup URL. I don't have 2 streams going. I do have 2 computers on though, so I'm just going to shut down this computer and see what that does. Maybe that's going to fix our internet issues. I don't think so. I can see the things are running now from there, so that should be fine. Okay. Okay. Yes, that was what I was talking about. Now, that tool by StewMac, essentially it rethreads the truss rod and also cuts away a little bit of wood so that that type of truss rod can then, you can put a new nut on it and it works. It's a great tool. I've not personally used one, but in concept it's amazing. The other thing is that you can just pull the truss rod out if it is a dual action truss rod. If it's a dual action truss rod, essentially it's a rectangle, and with a little bit of potentially heat and a little bit of effort, you should be able to pull it out. Now, of course, because I'm thinking about it, I've completely forgotten the name of the channel, which is really annoying because I watch them a lot. I'm terrible with names. They just pulled out a StewMac truss rod. It took a little bit of work, but in the end it came out very cleanly and went back in even cleaner. My gosh, does beautiful inlays on acoustics. You guys will have to help me out here. So there we go. Big Unit Guitar says, where do we submit the 30-second video? That will be through Talitha. I would say email it via WeTransfer if at all possible. That's probably the best bet. WeTransfer is quick and free at that level of stuff, I would suggest. But check your email. Robert R says, I started working again, Ben. Fine for now. Fantastic. Okay. Paul Richards, I'm sorry to hear that. He says, I pulled out of GGBO. I just couldn't be asked with the video production. Best of luck to everyone else, though. Thank you for letting us know, Paul, and I'm sorry about that. The video production is the biggest kicker for this. It takes so much time and effort to edit videos that, yeah. Some people just don't have it. It's one of those things. It's a job that you, yeah, it's not necessarily the fun part. We've seriously considered offering an editing service to help people, but again, it's so time consuming that we just don't have the time to do it ourselves. But there we go. Rabnox says 30-second clip. It took me over 30 days just to make the body blank. You got a few more months left. Dan Mills, do you know approximately how many tools you own? You might have already answered, but the stream froze for a good 3 minutes. Honestly, I haven't got the foggiest idea. I had a similar question at one point about hand planes, and just off the top of my head, I said, oh, 20. And then I went around the room. This was back at Crimson headquarters, and I counted, I think, over 100. I have a problem. To mitigate this, I must say that I also own a vintage tool shop, and 90% of the tools that I've got cost me absolutely nothing, or near as damn it, because they come in job lots, and I'm like, oh, that little thing that's, you know, maybe worth 10 or 20 pounds, that's beautiful. I'm going to, you know, that's my fee for brokering this deal and whatnot. So I've got a lot of things, but I haven't gone and spent 10 or 20,000 pounds on most of these tools, which makes me feel better about things. But no, I love craftsmanship. I love surrounding myself with beautiful things, and that's why I'm setting up this unit next to me so I can actually look at some of them. And it's not finished yet, nor is it tidy, but we'll get there. But I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tools, and hundreds, and a lot of them get used. A lot of them get used a lot. Okay. All right, so a bunch of people saying frozen. Sorry about that. Okay, Frank Thomas says, have you ever considered a build of a left-handed guitar? I'd definitely be in a draw for one of them. The problem is there are just so few left-handed people who watch. There's maybe 2 or 3 of you that I know that mention it every now and then. I would happily build you, at a discount, a guitar from scratch and happily film it. But in reality, we would have 3 people join the draw or 3 people bid on it, and it's just not financially viable. The other problem is, out of those 3 people, 2 of them might hate what I build. And yeah, it's pure mathematics, and it sucks. But as I've said, at a discount, I will happily build you a guitar that is left-handed. So there we go. Ape Song says, Relic, why not earn the Knox? Lots of people, and that's exactly how I felt originally, and it's not about that, it's about the look. If I'm faced with the choice of a pristine, beautiful sunburst finish on a Les Paul type guitar, or I'm faced with buying the same finish but with checked lacquer, not knocks and dings necessarily, not dents. I don't particularly like the dense side of relicing, but aging the finish. I love that look. I love that feel. And I've come around over the last 20 years to the idea that actually it's a valid finish. If you look at the 80s guitars that came with that cracker lacquer finish, for example, we're just doing something like that, or just in different ways. I've avoided using nitro for many, many years because I think that nitro nitro may affect the tone. It goes on thin, it dries really hard. Excuse me. And I can't even mute it. The mute button is all the way down there. But I've avoided it because I don't believe that it's the be-all, end-all. However, with nitro, you can force that aged look, and over time, it does get a very cool finish, which I love, and it's the guitars I love. So yeah, why not fake that? Okay, Sunbase, thank you very much, says, hey Ben, any problems using sapele for a fretboard? It seems hard enough and it will be poly finished. I've got some figured sapele that would look great. I used quilted sapele. I used quilted sapele, or pommel sapele, as it's sometimes called, on the fretboard for the 90-hour build, the complication. And it was, if I recall, under lacquer or super glue or something like that, and absolutely fine. I think even just under a normal oil, sapele is definitely hard enough to make a fretboard out of. In fact, I really have no issue with using sapele as a fretboard in any circumstance, up to and including fretless. I think it would be absolutely fine. Eric Jules says, I build lefty adaptations of classic models for myself. I've met a few people who do the same. It's just easier. That's why they got into guitar building in the first place. Stylex says, how many tools? Answer is not enough. I 100% concur. Okay. BC Rich 581 says, is there an issue that you come up with time and time again that you wish there was a specific tool on the market that could address it? Procrastination. Procrastination. 100%. And I'm waiting for some ADHD meds to hopefully fix me, but we'll see. Okay, Matt Lang, the handplane thing made me think of Alex Lifeson. Intended to sell most of his guitars, auctioned them, realized he still had a wall full. Yeah. So this is it. Let me go back to the other one. Well, you have 2 workshops. This is from Big Unit Guitars. Well, you have 2 workshops. You obviously need enough tools to completely stock both of them. I agree. And yes. So the other day there was a beautiful number 7 of the period that I collect that came into the tool shop that had a broken frog. And I'm like, well, there's nothing for it. I'm going to have to keep that one and use that one at my workshop at headquarters. And yeah, that's the plan. Part of this move has been to try and separate out the collection, the stuff behind me here, from the stuff I use day to day. And yeah, it's tidying things up and just making life better, I think. Now, to answer the question properly from BC Rich, is there one issue that I come up with time and time again that I wish there was a specific tool on the market that could address? To be honest, whenever I've found one of those things, I've designed the tool and we've started making them. For example, the fret rocker, most fret rockers are 4-sided and don't do ukulele or mandolin frets. I've made a 5-sided fret rocker that is, now standard for us, and other people are starting to copy it. That works on ukulele frets. Yeah. I can't believe my throat is so messed up tonight. I'm sorry. This is what happens when you have an Indian takeaway before going online, apparently. Garth Rider Creation says, I've been really enjoying learning about video editing and cameras and stuff. When I started, it took me weeks to get out of it. Now it takes me 2 days tops. It's a never-ending process, but like anything else, as I've said before, if you're prepared to suck at it, if you want to get good at it, then you need to be prepared to suck at it early on. Yeah, it can be done quickly. And it's not only the actual editing that's the thing, it's how much footage do you create. I was reading something in Variety the other day about some movie or other, and for a production of that size, they normally shoot 1 million feet of film, and for this film they shot 300,000 in order to spend their money elsewhere. And he was essentially editing in the camera, which is what I used to do before live streams came along. I would only click record when I absolutely knew that I wanted something, and I would click stop the second I came to the point where okay, we're done. And if there was a clip that I'd recorded that I realized later I didn't want, I deleted it before it went to the editor. And you know, I'm very lucky that I work with an editor, and I'm kind to her. She's my sister after all. Well, she, and I now have Bear as well, who's also editing. But especially if it's you editing, be super kind and only film what you want. Don't give hours and hours and hours and hours of footage to then trawl through to find the good 30 seconds. That's the most important tip I have got. Driftwood guitars, that's the one. Thank you very much. I have no idea why. I have no idea why their name escaped me. What a fool. Stephen Hatch says, any tips or hints on inlaying silver wire into a headstock for a logo? Will the shop be getting nickel jumbo frets into stock? Hold on. Okay. Okay, inlaying silver wire, it's one of those things. Watch somebody like Alex Steele, whose name I haven't forgotten, and other metalsmiths on how they inlay metal into metal. But essentially what you do is you create your channel, and then you want to try and dovetail out the bottom of the channel so that when you hammer the silver wire in, it mushrooms out in the bottom, which holds it in. That is the trick. That is the most important trick. And to be honest, you can do that by cutting your channel rectangular with a Dremel or something, and then just going in with the scalpel blade at a 45-degree angle and just cut it out, just smoosh it out in that way, and that should be fine. Will the shop be getting nickel jumbo frets into stock? They really should. Can you please send an email to shop at crimsonguitars.com and say, oi, Ben said you should have nickel jumbo frets in stock, why aren't you? I have seen reels and reels of fret wire at headquarters, and if there isn't jumbo there, I would be very, very surprised. I will also check it with the team. Does the shop sell body blanks big enough for a V or a large Explorer shape? Also, not as standard, but drop us an email and I'm sure we will be able to make one for you. Depends on the timber and what's available and what's dry, of course, because we'll only sell stuff that is absolutely perfect. But yeah, we should be able to do that. Wolford Guitar says, is your problem that you don't have enough tools? Yes. Graham B says, it's only a problem if you don't have a place to put them. Okay. Mr. Waffles is editing right now. Now, this is the thing. So a lot of people are saying, VCS the Bone Cruncher as well, that editing is what's put them off GGBO. Honestly, even if it is just a 10-minute video with a stitched together montage, photo montage of the build, that's absolutely fine. All we need in the end is one video that the other people can judge, because obviously the judging is now being done by the other contestants as well. And if you're posting the photographs of your build on your page as you go along, and as long as you are engaging with the other builders and all of that, and part of the community, then it doesn't matter whether you've got a perfectly edited Netflix ready series or something that's got no audio necessarily, or no talking. A lot of people aren't comfortable talking on camera. Make it easy on yourselves. Compete, in my opinion. Kiwi Quarter says it's not the editing, it's the shooting. That is, yeah, another thing. Whoa. Barry Christian said, if you had to commission a guitar, what would it be and who would you get to build it? I would get Prince to build it, because that means I have the power to bring him back. That's a really good question. Anything that Michihiro Matsuda would choose to make for me, fantastic. That would be awesome. Same thing with Paul Reed Smith, but something that he's personally built. I would love to see that. I would love to see that for many, many, many reasons. There are some people that do incredible replicas of 59 Les Pauls, and at the moment that's what keeps coming back to my mind. So I'm not going to say a specific builder. Maybe Iverson guitars. Neil, very talented builder. 59 Les Paul from Iverson guitars. I don't think he would do it. he's doing his own thing, but yeah, he made some very, very nice juniors in the past, and yeah, it could be cool. Okay. Robert R says, Ben, will you be bringing the squirrels into the new place? I thought I had one behind me. He's done a runner. Oh no, there we go. Yes. Squirrels. Okay. Goth Rider Creation says, hey Bun, I made my fretboard out of wood chips and resin and it turned into a banana. Wood chips, yes, absolutely. I need to find a household item or some hardwood from a B&Q-esque place to make a new one from. Any ideas? Okay, so wood chips and resin is the problem. You need to have some longevity, some longitudinal strips of something at the very least. I would say melamine worktop would be great, cut into strips, put together. Veneer cut into strips would be fantastic. I would like to use resin and strips of denim smushed together. That would also make a really good fretboard. In fact, that's something that I want to do as a product. I want to recycle clothing and make it into something that could be used to make guitars, because it hits on so many different things that are important to me. So yeah, I would do that. If not, oh, a chunk of aluminium could be fun. You can get that at B&Q or something like that. Chopping board. You could probably find a bamboo chopping board. Probably end grain, so not that great, but yeah, something like that. Okay. Funny enough, there's people sending me sending us the 30-second clips at the moment. Rage quit. I may well take you up on that. I'm hoping it's just something I need to press stop and turn off, and we'll go from there. But yeah. Rage quit, if you wouldn't mind dropping me an email to stream@crimsonguitars.com, I may well take you up on that. Okay. It's an offer to help sort out my internet dropping out. Okay. Anyway, let us see. Come on, people. Van Shank guitars. Does shipping damage count as relicing? Lol. I suppose so. I suppose so. It depends on the level of shipping damage. I had a forklift driver destroy two very delicate guitars that I made that had been shipped to Japan, and horrifically, that was just bad. But anyway, yeah, what can you do? Give me questions, people. Seriously, otherwise this is going to be a very short stream. Paul Need says, personal builds. I love another couple made by my favourite luthier, Rob Crocker. I made my Explorer bass in the 80s and made some for the big names, including Jimmy Page, an ES175 J200. That's very cool. Sun bass. Says anything other than nitro. I don't like the fragile nature of it. You're 100% right on the auto acrylics. Tough stuff like that doesn't change color. I think this is a conversations going on as well amongst you guys. What chemical paint stripper works the best and doesn't hurt the body? I have not tried any chemicals paint stripper in years. It's not something that I try, really. It's just commercially available to the public strippers just don't work. Unfortunately, it's in the UK at least. This might be not the same in other countries, but nitro Moors used to be really good stuff. Nowadays, it just doesn't touch it. It's it's not good. So there we go. Sporadic amnesiac. The next guitar build, the status quo denim on denim guitar, denim and resin body with denim neck and fretboard. Sounds great. Sounds absolutely right up my back alley. Kiwi Quarter says denim fretboard. Yes, I'm probably the only person making guitars who dislikes woodworking. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of people who try aluminium and carbon fiber, and it's not about the material. For me, it's not necessarily about the material. It is about doing something, anything that justifies me using tools and surrounding myself with tools. The fact I fell out of love with guitars, actually. There was a period where I was really not myself. And it came to an end, sort of end of 2019 period. And since then, I have really fallen back in love with guitars. And this is why on the channel you're seeing me buying Les Pauls and guitars by other people. I bought a parts caster yesterday for like 120 quid. That it's like, oh, that's interesting. I want to have a play with that, see if I can make it into something. Because it's just interesting. Whereas for a long time, I'd had enough of guitars, 100%. So yeah, denim. The only issue I've got with that is resins and things, but yeah, we can get over that. Sweet Tea Guitar says, how about a fabric or resin guitar with a killer wood top? Any potential issues that you see? I hope you're doing well. I'm okay, Sweet Tea. You too. Yes, so that's it. I think that done well, you can use fabric to make a micarta that looks like figured timber. But yes, I would always combine that with real wood, really. But yeah, I mean, this is something that I've been thinking about for since before COVID, actually. I just haven't had the time or energy. In fact, funnily enough, we've just this week we're finishing putting together our vacuum setup for flooding stuff and for making micarta and stuff like that. So micarta is the wrong term. All right. Vulcan Essen says, hi Ben, 3-sided crowning file. Shall I file the following radius? Shall I file following the radius? You usually recommend to go straight. When I do, I get slim middles and wide ends. Cheers. Okay. You've fundamentally misunderstood, and this is my fault, what I'm saying. I'm definitely saying follow the radius of the fretboard. Sorry, what I generally say is hold the file straight and follow the fret. Don't try and curve the fret. Don't try and curve the file to create a curve on the fret. You do want the triangular file to be touching the bottom of the fretboard the whole way, but don't twist the file to try and curve the fret. You want to create a radiused 3-sided pyramid. And I now realize that the way that I've been saying this for the last 15 years has been potentially misleading. Absolutely follow the fretboard, follow the radius of the fretboard, but don't try and put a curve into the fret at this point. You'll do that later when you clean up and polish everything up. My apologies. VCS the Bone Cruncher says, I have a beautiful but delicate burl maple drop top I'm about to glue up. Is it worth stabilizing with deep pour or other before more serious work? Burl maple generally, you should be fine unless it's particularly soft, which it shouldn't be, being maple, unless it's obviously spalted. That's the term I'm looking for. Yes, I am tired. For the most part, I would say you should be absolutely fine. If you are worried about a particular area and you're not staining it, then flood that area with super glue or just do some quick super glue repairs. But if the bulk of the wood is maple-like and nice and hard, and then you should be fine, and you won't need to flood the whole thing with resin. If you really feel like you need to, then yeah, cactus juice in a vacuum is probably your best bet. The problem with that is it involves cooking the wood. Yeah, I think it would be... I don't know. I don't know enough about that. We're going to start playing with that ourselves in the not too distant. So there we go. Steve Tuttle Guitars. Hey Steve, how you doing? Says, Ben, I have a chunk of Bubinga, 52mm by 170mm. That's quite chunky. So it's, width of a neck by, quite big, by 2 meters long. Any issues with a Bubinga neck or a Bubinga body other than weight? Thanks, Steve. No issues whatsoever. I built a Bubinga bodied guitar once. It was the thinnest guitar I've ever made because of the weight. Yeah, that was absolutely fine. I've used Bubinga for necks many times. As long as it is properly dried, it's fine. The grain isn't always, the grain is often not straight, and if it hasn't been dried properly, the tensions inside the neck could make it twist. I have had a Bubinga neck twist on me before. But the way to deal with that is to cut the wood down roughly to size and then just leave it and watch it. Obviously use a straight edge or draw some lines on it or whatever to make sure that you know what's happening. But leave it for a week or two, see if it's going to move. Generally, if wood is going to, unless it's too wet, which you will know, if it's dry and it's going to move, it's generally going to move pretty quickly. But other than that, I think you'll be all right. Big Unit Guitars, how you doing? I'm liking the name change, by the way. So I'm getting arranged for my electronics video. I plan on explaining pots, caps, signal chains, grounding versus bonding, pickups, a bit of elementary theory. Anything else you'd like me to cover? Capacitors. Oh no, you've got capacitors on there. Pots. Switches are fairly elementary. I'm interested. Something that could be useful to popularize is rotary switches and how they function, and the fact that most rotary switches, in my experience, you can actually, if you buy a 3-position one, you could take it apart and turn it into a 5-position one, which is useful to know. But yeah, maybe mention rotary switches, and when you're talking about pots, please talk about center to tent pots as well and how they work, because I've wondered about that, but never enough to actually Google it. Anyhow, I'm very much looking forward to watching this big unit, so yeah, thank you very much for doing it. Max Baronet made some awesome LP copies and did the /LP 2 and 3, sorry. Crowe and B's watching Daisy Tempest. I know Daisy. He says it's brilliant watching younger people get into the trade. Whew. Sporadic Amnesic says would love a blank big enough for an Explorer type with a quilted maple. Seen the quilted maple woods on Crimson, but don't think they're big enough for an Explorer type. I don't think they are. No, I don't think they are. I might have... We might have some quilted mahogany. If it hasn't been cut down yet, there might be that could be cut into a top for you. Very nice stuff. So yeah, drop us an email. All right, George Davis talking about painting show cars for years with acrylic paint color and clear, and they still look great 40 years later. People generally have an issue with acrylic because it's seen as going milky. Done well, it doesn't. And modern acrylic paints in particular don't have that issue. We've used acrylic in the past and will do in the future. 2K acrylics are pretty awesome stuff. So yeah, it is. Sweet Tea Guitar says, have you ever used any Brazilian black heart? I've got 2 hunks on the way and a bunch of other rare wood. This could be super cool for us both. Peace and love. Okay, when you write peace and love by saying P and L, my initial thing is always to say profit and loss. I spent the last 3 or 4 weeks in meetings talking about exactly that. Brazilian black heart is not something I have ever used. Just wondering if it has another name, which is one of those things. If I have any signal at all. Well, that's weird. Nope. Palo Santo. Okay. Oh, that looks great. No, I have not. That looks incredible. So it essentially looks like very black heartwood and a very yellow sapwood, kind of like pale moon ebony, something along those lines. In fact, it might be pale moon ebony, come to think of it, or something very similar. Matt Lang says, my wife still complains she hasn't seen holiday photos from years ago because I haven't edited them. I think your wife needs to learn how to edit. Yep. Big units using Wondershare video editing software works great, not too expensive and easy to learn. Anonymous Botch, is there a live stream tomorrow? There is not. I'm not going to be doing live stream on Monday for another 2 or 3 weeks. Tomorrow, for the next couple of days, I'm off on a jolly with Orson, who's just turned 12. I'm being very careful about that now. And yeah, I'm taking him off for a lad's long, whatever. We're going off for a couple of days to have some fun and see some sights and stuff. So that's not happening. And then in the next couple of weeks, there's also an actual honest to goodness family holiday. Can you believe it? So it's the summer holidays. Once that is all done, then and this workshop is up and running, then I will recommence the Monday live streams. It's not going to necessarily be builds entirely. There'll be restorations and repairs and bits and pieces. I do miss them. I do enjoy them. But yeah, all of this comes first. I realized that I had too many things going on, essentially. Lots of, yeah. With this workshop, with the workshop at Crimson Guitars going on, with all of the fixes and adjustments to how we do things over there, the aforementioned profit and losses and all of these sorts of things, throw into the mix the live streams and keeping videos going and multiple builds and stuff, I've had to just pull back and just finish 1 or 2 projects. And I've decided to finish the workshop here and the workshop at headquarters. and then I'll recommence. Okay, Volcanescent says, Ben, thanks for the last answer. You saved my sanity. So that's about the crowning file, the frets. What's your sequence for doing a guitar setup? Okay. I get everything as close as I possibly can, very roughly, with regards to height. I tend to start at the nut. Okay, let's start fresh. I will get the action to where it looks visually right. I will get the intonation pretty close. So when I cut the nut slots, I cut them pretty close to where I think they're going to need to be. I then put the strings on, I adjust the saddles to pretty much where I think they're going to need to be. I then set the intonation, just using my ear, pretty much to where it needs to be. At that point, I can say, okay, fine, here we go. Now I sort the nut out. Everything's roughly in place, because any change you make in any of these things will affect everything else. Okay, so you don't want to perfectly get your nut organized and then realize, oh, poop, I've now actually cut the nut too low because I had a really high action on these 3 strings at the bridge. So everything needs to be pretty close, and then you start adjusting things. But I'll cut the nut, check that, then make sure that my action is still where I need it to be, raise it, lower it, etc. at the bridge, and then set the intonation. Once the intonation's dead nuts on, I will then go back and I will check the feel again. But it is entirely about how the guitar feels to play yeah, it's the nut height that makes really all the difference. Truss rod as well. So generally the very, very first thing I do is set the truss rod to have just a little bit of relief. So I roughly tune the guitars. Set the truss rods so I've got a little bit of relief, and then by eye set everything, and then go back and do everything again, but much closer in. You're sort of circling the drain. Yeah, you are sneaking up on a perfect setup. Now take everything that I've just said and edit that into a 30-second clip, because I'm sure it could be said much more succinctly than that. In fact, I should do a YouTube short on that. Okay. Timon's talking about drill bits. Star M and Fish are good. I use Star M. I've got them, but and I've used Fish in the past as well. I cried when I destroyed my one Fish 10mm Brad Point bit that I'd bought. My personal favorite is Famag. I think Famag do amazing things. Graham B says, never compromise when it comes to family. Way to go, Ben. I agree. Which, yeah, hasn't always been the case. The business has been another child and was the first child, and yeah, it's caused some trouble, I must say. Nick Guitar says, Ben, when hand planing, I always seem to make a little hump in the middle of the board, so I always have to plane some more, starting from the hump to level it out. Any tips? So I'm trying to visualize that. In reality, I think that you need to move the pressure. When I'm planing, I put the pressure down on the toe of the plane and push, and then halfway through the board, I relieve the pressure from the front and push in the middle of the plane or the back of the plane. Essentially how a plane works is the front half is what sets the flat. So you make your cut, and then you want to follow that cut with the rear end of the plane. What I think you're currently doing is planing it's to do with your body, it's to do with how you're actually pushing and where you're pushing that's causing this, I suspect. So yeah, analyze that. But in reality, knowing that this is how you do and what you do, you know what to look out for and you can easily fix the issue. But yeah, I think it's probably to do with how you are holding the plane or pushing down on it. Paul Needs says, a holiday? What? I know, right? I am sure I will get to go and visit a guitar shop or two in the meantime. Jasmine and I are already talking about taking a break from our family holiday, just the two of us, to go and run away. So we'll see. Knight's Dew says, is there a way to wire two Fishman Fluence modern pups with two push-pull knobs for two voices and a 5-way switch, single cord on position 2 and 4? I have no idea. Talk to Fishman. I love Fishman pickups. I really do enjoy the sound. Yeah, really nice pickups in general. I should use them more often. I really should. Goth Rider Creation says, last question, Bun. How much graphite powder should I add to how much paint to make shielding paint? By all means, ignore that if it's a trade secret. Add to how much paint? Honestly, I haven't got the foggiest idea. Experiment and just check with a multimeter once it's dry. The issue is creating something. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you exactly how we do it. If you're going to do it, I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out. But it's a messy, messy, messy whole process. Mr. Waffle says, I think I should shoot in a lower resolution. It takes hours to transfer video from the GoPro. If you're using a GoPro, Mr. Waffles, I had a few issues with them where it was saying that the card was corrupted. Now, don't take that as rote. Don't necessarily believe it. Sometimes it is true if this happens to you, but turn it off, take the card out, put it back in, turn it on again and see if it's fine. Just don't format the card in the camera just because it's saying, oh, it's lost and you've lost your footage. Try it in the computer and see if the computer will read it. Oftentimes, you actually will be able to get your footage back. Vegas Pro is really fast for shopping and editing, apparently, according to Rage Quit. Lightworks is one of my favorites, and I think it's essentially free. If not free, it's like a tenner, something like that. Okay, good question. Magic Music Adam says, Ben, we see you using a coping saw, technically a piercing saw really, or an inlay saw, jeweler's saw, sorry. Although they all mean the same thing, don't they? For inlays, brass, fret markers, etc., I often wonder if a scroll saw would work for many of these things and why you use the hand tool in preference. Okay, so generally I use hand tools for preference because of the noise and because I'm filming. So there is that. I have a Hegner scroll saw, which is, if you know, the Rolls Royce of scroll saws. They're really amazing. But specifically for the last 3 or 4 years, in fact, for a long time, that is not a tool that I would use very often at all. And because of that, it's been relegated into a corner or underneath a bench or something. And when the time comes around that I do want to potentially use it, it's just, I'd rather do it by hand. By the time I've got it out and set it up and dusted it off and changed the blade and all that jazz, I might as well have just cut it out by hand. So yeah, a scroll saw does work for a lot of this stuff. I think for fine inlays, a scroll saw is a little bit much, to be honest. But a Hegner scroll saw was the very first machine tool that the Fender Custom Shop founder, I don't know, ever bought. It's a useful tool. It's useful for guitar building. It's useful for template making. I used it for the 90-hour build, for example. Things like that. It's useful. But for finer inlay work, no, I would still 9 times out of 10 just do it by hand. Check out my Instagram, at @therealbencrowe. On there, I posted some photos of a little nickel silver Deathly Hallows that I made for Byron's birthday last weekend, which was cool. So there we go. Vulcan Essence back in with another question. Thank you very much for it. He says, Ben, how would you recess a pothole in the cavity? I'm laughing because I've done this so many times. How would you recess a pothole in the control cavity when you realize that the pot shaft is too short? Dowel and a Forstner bit. Also, are there templates for drilling bridge post holes with a hand drill? Cheers. Okay, there aren't generally templates. I would just mark it very carefully. I drill all of my bridge holes, etc. by hand. I don't use the pillar drill very much for the same reason as the scroll saw. Up until this move around, and the scroll saw now has a table where it's going to be accessible at all times. For the same reason, my pillar drill has actually been stuffed into a corner. I've now brought that out. It's pride of place, and it's going to get used a lot more. But I drill all of my bridge posts by hand. I always have. And as long as you use a good brad awl to mark where they need to go and all of that, it's absolutely fine. Make sure you're going in straight by using a center point bit, and when you start drilling in, look at the cut as it starts coming, and if you're only cutting on one side, that means you're not going in straight. It's that simple. Recessing a pothole in the control cavity when you realize that the shaft of the pot is too short. In the past, I have plugged the hole, the shaft hole, with a dowel, marked a center with a brad point, and then gone in with a Forstner bit and made it a little bit deeper. I have also foregone that, which is best practice, and just roughly held the Forstner bit, and instead of drilling in nicely, because you don't have anything at the center of that Forstner bit, for the center of that Forstner bit to hold on to, it just sort of goes all over the place, but it's inside a control cavity. It's fine. It's just, not that pretty. Recently though, I've actually taken a Dremel to it using a saber-tooth ball carving burr. That's a term, isn't it? And those carving burrs have helped me several times in that exact situation, but also when I'm using a barrel jack and the wall of the cavity isn't square, so it's just not great. So yeah, I think that one of those is a very, very good investment. In fact, there's a video there as well. So there we go. Yeah, if you are on Instagram and not yet following me, please do. I'm trying to make a concerted effort to do more on there. All right, where are we? We've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. Big Unit says Pale Moon Ebony is beautiful, but expensive. I've never used it. I've got a piece that a former student gave me that I'm looking forward to using. GIF Broad, how you doing? Not a name I recognize. Says, sorry I'm late. When are we going to see more hand tool only build videos? Okay, you're in a timeout. Also, bonus question, will we see an acoustic guitar build this year? Okay. Aha. Okay. Hand tool build is coming again. I had sincerely hoped to have finished this workshop build out and by this point already restarted the hand tool build in earnest. My studio here is actually now ready, finally, to start filming. And I am going to do that towards the end of the week. I'm going to start filming up again on the hand tool build. So I'm hoping that you'll see an episode a week on Saturday. So in about 2 weeks' time, I hope. And I just want to get that finished now. I also would like to build an acoustic. I've got a potential commission that we'll look at. Yeah, if that's... I want to do some more interesting stuff. I'm not going to say that I'm bored with building electric guitars right now, but I would like to spread my wings a little bit further and do some of the other things that I've done in the past, but on YouTube. So there will be more basses. There will be some interesting other instruments. I would like to spend a week building some medieval things. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Fun times. That's what I'm saying. Fun times. Nick Guitar says, what do you think is more dangerous for wood stability, humidity, or temperature oscillation in a working space? Okay, so temperature oscillation in a working space will affect the humidity. The equilibrium moisture content of the room that you are in varies depending on the temperature. So, for example, my Wagner moisture meter, which is over there, I can push a button and it'll say, okay, if you're in this room and you leave wood in this room for a period of time, it will end up being around about X, have a moisture content of around about this in the end. When you lower the temperature, the air can hold less moisture, therefore it affects it. A warmer room can hold more moisture. So they both sort of work in tandem. However, I don't worry too much about temperature. I really don't worry too much about temperature. I do worry about humidity. So if you've got a dehumidifier running, it doesn't really matter what temperature it is, because the humidity is being controlled, essentially. Okay. Okay, Kiwi Quarter says, Ben, if you were forced to build on a 1.5 by 3 meter balcony, I can't pronounce that word anymore. How would you go about it? I'm asking for a friend. Okay. First of all, I'm scared of heights. So that wouldn't work very well. Depends on how high the balcony is. I would actually relish the challenge. I think that could be quite fun. It would be entirely hand tools, or almost entirely hand tools. I would probably have a jigsaw to do the bulk of the cutting out. I would have a hand router. I would have a power drill, obviously. I wouldn't want to build a guitar without an oscillating spindle sander or a spindle belt sander. My Triton is one of my favorite tools. I'm looking at it now. It was just in the corner saying, choose me, choose me. So yeah, I think that with a standard wardrobe of storage space, I could store everything I need on a balcony to build a guitar. So, you know, a double door wardrobe, nice and closed. I would, if you're having to store it outside on the balcony, then make sure that you've got that it's protected from the elements. Hand planes and things like that would want to rust, so you need to make sure it's absolutely airtight, if at all possible. If not, those things need to be kept inside. I think it could be done. I really do think that it could be done. Small tools. Don't buy a tool unless you absolutely need it. Don't do what I've done and have everything. Buy the tool when you need it, not because you think you're going to maybe possibly need it. Unless it's a Crimson Guitars tool, in which case buy them all. But yeah, it's not actually that much of an issue. The workbench is the biggest problem, and I would have a workbench that folds into the wall. So yeah, the workbench folds down and the legs sort of swing out, and pff, there you go. It could be fun. Don't ask me to actually do it, please. But yeah, it could be fun. Vicious the Bone Cruncher says medieval things with power tools and truss rods. Yes, please. Night Stew says, do you have any more of that ash slab used for the fretless bass? I want some of it. Now the problem is, do I lie because I don't want to give it up? Or do I say yes and charge you an exorbitant amount of money? I do have some of it left. I'm fairly sure I found another chunk here. There might be a little bit left at headquarters as well. There was just a single plank that we bought. So yeah, drop us an email, shop@crimsonguitars.com. Say that Ben said that he has some of this stuff left over, and I will look for it. I have a timber store. I'm fairly sure I saw it in here. So yeah, I think we can probably do something for you on that one. Matt Toman, no hurdy-gurdies. Dan Mills, does humidity affect the wooden handles on your tools? To a certain extent it could, but tool handles are finished in shellac for older ones, or a varnish of some sort, and they're fully sealed. If it is humid enough to make that swell, then you are storing your tool in far too wet of a place for the iron itself. Essentially it will be rusty if the wood has got to that point. So no, not an issue. Okay, JBoogie164 says, how do you heat or cool or humidify or dehumidify your workshop? Okay, so in the UK our average humidity is about 85%, and the average temperature is probably about, I don't know, not very high. I've got a heater on the wall that's thermostatically controlled, and I have that go on anytime it gets beneath about 12 degrees in here. And I've got a dehumidifier that is on whenever I'm not filming that is set to 50%. Now I don't necessarily trust the dehumidifier's screen, but essentially it pulls out water, and one of the reasons why I've done the extension here is so that I can actually find a wall space for that, so it's got a pipe going out the wall, so I don't need to worry about it too much. Also, I'm hoping that it's going to be off in a corner and not quite so audible when I'm recording, so it can just go all the time. I don't have to worry about humidifying the workshop or cooling it, because it's well insulated, and the UK in general is not actually very hot, although the last couple of weeks has been interesting, and apparently we're in for a bit more soon. Probably when I'm on holiday at a bloody water park, which is going to be my idea of hell. Yeah. Alrighty. Sporadic in music. Oh no, not the timeout. Lol. I haven't put anybody in timeout since Terry Love, who I haven't seen for a while. Where is Terry? Michael Barrett says, hi Ben, is it possible to make an exact copy of an Ibanez UV neck I have? It's been out of production for 30 years, so I can't just buy another one. Yes, Michael, send us the neck. We will make you an exact, dead nuts accurate copy of it. No worries whatsoever. Ibanez, if you're watching, I can't make dead nuts copies of anything specifically trademarked headstock shapes. I would never do it. Okay, I'm going to meet you somewhere in the middle there. For the neck shape, 100%, and for the headstock shape, I don't think Ibanez have trademarked the actual shape of their headstocks, although it is one of my favorite headstock shapes for a 6-in-line headstock. Yes, I could make a dead nuts accurate replica. It would feel exactly the same and all that jazz. One thing I will not do is put an Ibanez logo on anything. or anybody else's logo for that matter. But as a kit instrument, yeah, no worries. I would require you to send the neck to us though. So drop us an email, shop@crimsonguitars.com, and yeah, just say Ben promised he could do this for me. Time and Guitars says a lyre would be cool, or a cittern. Both of those things have occurred to me and I thought exactly the same thing. Cool. All right. Shirley Larkin's trying to send a super chat, but it keeps on giving them an error message. I'm sorry to hear that. I do appreciate your super chats very, very much. Well, Shirley, now that I've just said this, ask the question that you've got, just as the question. I'll look out for your name down in the bottom of the chat, and hopefully I will see it. It seems to be slowing down. 150 people concurrently watching, but only 82 likes. Come on, people. Click that button. Okay. Magic Music Adam says, thanks for answering the sore question. I moved house and have a medium shed to kit out as a workshop. I'm deciding which tools deserve a place in limited space, so I really value your opinion on the tool. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm here to help. Okay, Jake Richards says, is this headquarters or your home workshop or somewhere different? It's been a few months since I've watched any of your videos. I know I've been missing out. It's absolutely fine. This is the extension of my home workshop. I've needed a desk area for a long time. I've got a desk up at the house, but trying to do anything that requires concentration in a house with 3 children, it's not going to work. So yeah, the extension here, and obviously I've got some tools and bits and pieces and stuff and nonsense and guitars and a library. I've finally got access to all of my books. There's hundreds of books on guitars and making and tools and things in here. So yes, the headquarters extension hasn't been finished yet, and I wish I could push buttons and show you what's going on here, but yeah, it is. There's been a couple of videos on the main YouTube channel. There's been a video on the main YouTube channel talking about this build of the shed, and one of the next videos going live on the main channel is going to be talking about the timber store and how that's worked out. So there we go. Bloody TikTok, seriously. So everybody and their granny is saying, Ben, you need to be on TikTok. So I'm fine. Okay, cool. We've got a TikTok account. We've got a Crimson Guitars TikTok account. I got the login details. I've signed into this thing. Now I'm getting tons of notifications, and half of them are inappropriate bullshit that I've got no interest in looking at. I thought you changed TikTok. What the hell? So anyway, don't expect me to spend very much time doing anything on TikTok. I'm not interested. Okay. Disco Stew, how you doing? Says, late to the chat, little friendly observation. Have you built an extension to spread your gear out, but ended up filling it with new/old stuff? Those cases to your left as an example. Lol. Yes. So okay, so I've built the extension to gain more access to some tools that I already had, and to tidy things up, and to give me some room to spread out the collection of tools from the tools that I actually use. But the main thing is that I'm very excited about spending more time playing with other people's guitars. So for the first time ever, I've got a bunch of guitars. There's a Taylor in there. I've got a couple of Les Pauls in here. I've got a PRS, a really interesting PRS Custom 24 black from the sort of 90s maybe, that I'm going to relic the hell out of, I think, this week. And bits and pieces that I just didn't have the storage space for, but now I do. So yes, I've added more stuff as well, but I still have more space to go. I'm going to be doing a lot of these repairs and restorations and just raffling them off to get rid of them and to finance the next purchase. So, yeah. Okay. Melt Disc. Cool name. Ben, can you please explain how you finished that fretless body from the sanding to the oil finish? Is it possible to skip the powder bit? Thanks. So the fretless body, yes. What powder bit? Did I really actually use powder? That's crazy. Pumice powder. Yes, you can skip pumice powder. That was, if I did that, that was just an interesting way of leveling it. That I could have used sandpaper, I could have used a sanding block or a leveling beam or something like that. Or even wire wool would have done absolutely fine. So yes, you can skip that. The process was sand the body all the way down, completely forget to blow out all of the dust with a compressor, like the numpty that I am. Then apply oil, or in this case I used a wipe-on varnish that we make or have made to our specifications, and rub it flat, buff it up, and you're away. So yeah, I applied the oil or the varnish, and then I applied the stain, then the varnish. Then I rubbed it back a little bit using pumice. Then you apply guitar finishing oil, if I recall correctly. It was a few weeks ago I did this now, and a lot has happened since then. And then buff it up and you're done. So, yeah. Lisa says, Terry. Maybe Terry thinks he's in a timeout. I did. I did. VCS the Bone Cruncher, did you take Terry out of the timeout? It was only 3 minutes and I still feel guilty about that. Okay. Anyway, everybody, we're coming up on an hour and a half, which seems to be where we end. Yeah. Kiwi Quarter says, TikTok is just a fad like rap music. I like rap music. Sometimes. Timon says, yeah, you're not missing anything by not being on TikTok. Trust me. Mr. Waffle says TikTok is a social media app that tracks everything you do and say, then sends it to the Chinese government. That is also true. Yeah, I think I'm done with that. Ian M says Instaham isn't much better. I do like Instagram. I really do. At least, yes, I really do like Instagram. What is it? Instagram really does honestly feel, at least in my world, to be about creators and creatives, and more so than Facebook or TikTok, which is all about, oh, look at me, look at me. There's a lot of true creators on Instagram, and I think that is because Instagram is photography based, and initially it was all about, oh, who can take the best photos and make them look good and all of that. It's not about what's going on in the photos. Now that has changed and evolved over time, but at least the people I follow, it's about the creativity of it and the artistry of it. So yeah, I think that's fine. Okay. The squirrel's a bit closer. It's not your imagination. He's just a bit closer than he usually is. Vulcan Essen, again, MVP. Hi Ben, is it a good idea to wet sand crimson water-based varnish with water? Cheers. Yeah, V, if you've got enough on there, with any hand-applied varnish or lacquer, I would worry at how thick it is before you start wet sanding. But yes, you can wet sand it. Make sure that it's cured. It needs at least a few days to fully harden before you do that. But yes, you can wet sand it if you've got enough on there and you're gentle, shall we say. It should be absolutely fine. Okay. Shirley Larkin, there we go. This is the question I've been looking for. Hi Ben, thanks. I have a Strat type guitar that I love, but it has a maple fretboard. Is it a viable option to stain it for an expensive guitar, or a horribly sacrilegious idea? Okay, so the next video that's going to be... the next video that I'm going to be filming is taking a relatively early Paul Reed Smith American-made custom 24 with a beautiful piano black finish, and I'm going to cut the hell out of it with a razor blade, scalpel blade. I'm going to faux crack the lacquer as if it was a nitro finish, which it isn't, it's poly, and I'm going to make it look like a sort of a 50s Les Paul, just because I want to. There are going to be people who shout at me loudly, all caps, all the time, in the comments of that video because they think it's sacrilegious. I really don't give a crap. It's something I really want to see, and I think it's going to be interesting. So it's fine. If this is a guitar that you love, and you would love it even more with a dark fretboard, 100% stain it, do whatever you need to. Fender themselves have painted solid paint onto fretboards. So instead of just spraying a clear lacquer so you can see the maple, they've sprayed piano black or bright yellow, I seem to recall seeing at one point, straight onto the fretboard. They've painted it. Why shouldn't you? Go for it. I say 100% go for it. Yeah, it's cool. You're not, this is a guitar that for you, it's your guitar. Who really cares what anybody else thinks? They can, yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. SM Myers, does anybody know what tuning machines Ben used on Bob a Fret? I emailed, but the reply just referenced the build video. I want to do an open headstock like that. That's because nobody else... Well, that's because whoever replied to you was lazy. Okay. I can't remember. And I also can't see. I'm sorry, this is very boring. Oh, okay, I got it. So it wasn't tuners; it was a headless. It was a headless system by a company, the name of which I've completely forgotten. Hold on. Riviera. Riviera, so those weren't tuners at the headstock, they were locking systems. You can use a Firebird tuners, would do very well for that sort of a thing, but you could design that headstock around pretty much any kind of tuner you wanted, to be honest. Okay. Stephen Hatch says, what are your thoughts on giving surfaces some tooth when gluing pieces together by way of a, for instance, I love the way you wrote that, gluing body halves together or a neck in its pocket? Do surfaces need to be 100% flat? For wood, yes, surfaces do need to be 100% flat. Glues and finishes, modern in particular, have been designed to, wood glues have been designed to work with flat surfaces. They actually, it's not a film between two flat surfaces, it's something that penetrates into the wood and then pulls together and grabs and does all that good stuff. Epoxy needs a key when you're gluing metal to wood or metal to metal. The metal needs to have a key for the epoxy to grab into, because the epoxy isn't seeping into the metal. Wood glues seep into the wood. Now, veneers traditionally have had a key, and I don't think that's for the glue to hold on to it. I think that's something to do with avoiding bubbles underneath the veneer. I can't be certain because I haven't ever done it or really looked into it, but I think that's what that's for. But no, general woodworking, it needs to be perfectly flat, and there we go. That's the way it goes. All right. Okay, I know what you mean by CZ. Carl Price, sorry, that was me gormlessly looking at your comment, reading it 4 times, trying to figure out what the hell you were talking about. Carl Price mentioned the CZ, which stands for cubic zirconia, in a tube side dots with fiber lighting above. Works well. If you want to play with some, let me know. I'm designing a PCB to RGB to light them right now. I would love to have a play with what you have worked on. Give me a shout. I will buy that. I would love to. So yeah, please drop me an email. stream@crimsonguitars.com. Ape Song says, being a redhead, peeling sunburnt skin after a weekend at the beach was normal. I'm going to assume that was referencing somebody else. I should probably read all these comments before reading them out, shouldn't I? Anyway, okay, Luna's Luthery, final question of the evening. When you do a multi-scale fretboard, what is the best way to make the headstock? In this case, it will be a slotted headstock. How thick should it be? Thanks. Okay, the thickness of the headstock is set by the tuners, so generally 14 to 16 millimeters thick. Setting the angle is the fun bit. You don't have to have an actual flat face. In fact, with an angled headstock, you're not going to get a flat face. It's gonna slightly bend depending on where you're at, or instead of the angle being flat, the angle is going to be like that, facing away from you. That's absolutely fine. Generally, what I do is I put a slight curve onto it, and it works. It works good. So yeah. Go with it. Okay, Sergey Lanternov says, do you have any updates for podcasts? I thought that was going to be the last question. Okay, hold on for a second. I used to listen to Luthiers Q&A on Spotify a Sunday evening, not so feasible. Cheers, and thanks for the videos. It's an absolute pleasure. As far as I was aware, the live stream, the podcast was still going live. I will have to check that out. Disco Stew's coming with a super chat, says I should have paid for that last post. Dude, thank you, and it's absolutely fine. Sweet Tea says I need to check my Instagram messages. He sent some pics. I will check that. Yes, I will. Lisa, no, I haven't. No, I haven't. And no, there's no live stream tomorrow, not for a couple of weeks. Lisa, photograph. Boop. Now that I'm starting to wind things down, now the questions are coming in thick and fast. Come on. All right, hit me. No, I haven't got in touch with Susie, and that really is a problem. I thought I put her on a list of people to contact and then lost the damn list. Dan Mills says, what is your favorite tool within 2 meters of you? Eesh. I mean, this oscillating spindle sander is right there. I don't actually use that, so it can't really be a favorite tool because I don't use it. This is a very small Spears Air smoothing plane that's really, really nice. This is a very, very rare 101.5 Stanley block plane, which again, I don't use it, so I don't love it. That little chariot plane with Cupid's bows on it. It's all planes. I love planes. My Canon EOS 90D. You're about 2 meters away from me. Without my cameras, my entire life would not have gone the way it has. That's my favorite tool within 2 meters of me. Okay, everybody, I just want to say thank you very much. I am going to call this a night now. You guys are incredible. I really do appreciate your support. I'm going to be off for a couple of days with Orson, just having a jolly, and I'll probably still be posting on Instagram, I suppose. When I get back, I'm going to be filming the relicing of that PRS, because it's going to be a quick and easy video for Saturday. There is a video going live on Wednesday talking about, on Tuesday or Wednesday, sorting out the timber store here, which is going to be quite interesting. The base is currently up for raffle, and that is still available. That is ending, I think, on Saturday. So that's going to be coming up soon. May the odds ever be in your favor. I will be back next Sunday evening at 8 p.m. for another live stream Q&A. But in the meantime, go make some sawdust. I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you manage to stay cool if you're in the midst of a heat wave, or warm if you're getting hot. I don't know. Have a good one. I will see you guys soon. Goodbye.